Like and subscribe right now, or you're gonna have terrible luck for the next week. Pets are adorable. They're cute, furry, and are amazing companions. But love them as you may, they sometimes show a terrible side. A side you never would have believed. Get ready, boys and girls. Coming up are 10 stories of pets who decided to devour their owners. Number 10. A woman, her hamster, and a strange incident. Hamsters are generally harmless pets. No one would even think of a hamster when considering animals who could kill their owners. But this story shows that thinking may just be flawed. In this strange incident, a woman was found dead in her apartment. This, of course, is a sad occurrence, but it isn't too uncommon. However, what made the incident strange was the fact that her pet hamster was feasting on her. Now, again, this isn't too strange if we consider that she may have died of a heart attack. If that had happened, it wouldn't be too shocking to discover that her hamster would feast on her dead body. Now, what made this story extremely strange is the fact that there were strange markings on her face. After careful investigation, investigators discovered that the woman owned a free-range golden hamster. Upon further investigation, a more macabre sight was found. Right inside one of the drawers inside the house was a terrible and downright grotesque sight. It was the hamster's burrow, and it was made of human skin, fat, and muscle tissue. This hamster hadn't only feasted on its owner, it had also made its new home from the body of its owner. Now that is some terrible stuff. Number 9. The family ferret and the child. Many families own two beings that shouldn't exist in the same place: a ferret and a baby. They don't know this, but ferrets are dangerous animals, and babies are especially defenseless. While many families think that ferrets are agile and cute, they fail to realize that ferrets have other properties too. For one, they have a pair of sharp, piranha-like teeth and have a taste for flesh. Ferrets are basically like furry little vampires. One day, a Missouri family was awakened by the crying of their child. They guessed only two things. One, he might be hungry, or two, his diaper may need changing. Never in their wildest imagination would they have guessed what they saw when they walked into the nursery. They met their bloodied child crying because their pet ferret had eaten 7 of their baby's 10 fingers off. Thankfully, they were able to take their baby to the hospital for recovery, and they managed to kill the ferret. Amazingly, that's not the only example we know of where ferrets tried to kill a baby. In another example, a couple came to their drawing room to meet their newborn baby being eaten alive by their 3 pet ferrets. Number 8. Mark Vogel and the Deadly Spider. Mark Vogel was a 30-year-old from Germany who had the misfortune of owning an army of exotic pets, spiders, snakes, termites, and a gecko. Mark often kept these pets in a cage because he understood how dangerous they were. But of all of his pets, one was especially dangerous, and Mark knew it. However, sometimes even foreknowledge can't help you. One day, the inevitable occurred, and the pet that Mark was most scared of, a black widow spider, escaped her cage. And from then onwards, it was game over. Although black widow spider bites rarely kill people, they can cause muscle cramps. And these muscle cramps can paralyze one to the stage where they can't call for help. It seems this was precisely what happened to Mark. Once he was attacked by the spider, it was over. Soon after, all his pets escaped from the cages he put them in, and they decided to feast on him. When investigators found Mark's body, it was covered in cobwebs, and they estimated that he must have been dead for 7 to 14 days. Number 7. Never keep a wolf dog. Sandra had raised a pack of 9 wolf dogs all on her own, and she was extremely devoted to them. However, it seemed that the love only went one way. She was devoted to them, but they certainly were not devoted to her. One day, after she missed a meeting with her daughter, her estranged husband went out to look for her, only to discover that her body was in the cage of her wolf dogs, and it had been partly eaten. She had bled to death after being bitten, clawed at, and generally being injured. After her death, the wolf dog hybrids dragged her to their cages to continue the feast. Till today, we don't know why these wolf dogs had behaved like this, but we've learned one lesson. Always beware of wolf dogs. They can become quite unpredictable. Number 6. The Unnamed Man and the Bull Terrier. When this unnamed man from Liverpool didn't show up to local events for a while, his neighbors got worried. They called the police to check out his home to see if something was wrong. The police went to check on him and they found his corpse. Upon entering his house, his dog, a bull terrier, was highly agitated. At first, the police officers imagined that the dog was that way because his owner was dead. However, upon further investigation, it was discovered that the dog had been feasting on its owner for a while. That's right, the bull terrier had eaten parts of his owner before the police found him. Number 5. The story of Janet Veal and her feline friends. Janet Veal was a British 56-year-old reclusive cat owner. She had several cats and rarely left her home. However, after a very long time of not seeing Janet, her neighbors called on the police to come and check out her home. When they came, the sight they met was just extraordinary. Janet was dead in her kitchen, and she was surrounded by dead and living cats. The living cats had survived by gnawing off pieces of her body, and the dead ones had simply starved to death. Imagine being a police officer and finding such a scene. Number 4. The hogs. There's probably no worse way to go than being eaten and dismembered by hogs. Or can you think of a worse way to go out? Maybe by drowning in a pot of boiling oil? Seriously, that's the only way worse than being dismembered by a couple of domestic pigs. Sad as this situation may sound, it was one that befell one farmer in Oregon. Terrence Vance Garner, a 69-year-old farmer, went to feed his animals on his farm near the Oregon coast and never returned. Soon enough, a family member found his dentures and pieces of his body in the hog enclosure. Sadly, most of his remains had been consumed by the hogs. Now, this doesn't mean that the hogs ambushed Terrence when he came to the farm. What's more likely is that Terrence had a medical emergency, like a heart attack, and fell right in the middle of the hogs. That could have led them to feasting on him. Another likely reason for Terrence's death is that he may have been knocked down by a hog, was killed by a stampede, and then eaten. This is a likely explanation because at least one hog had previously bitten Terrence. This situation was especially strange because domestic hogs are not known to be violent, but as you know, stranger things have happened. Number 3. The bull. Bulls would be extremely scary animals if they had a taste for blood, but they don't. For the most part, bulls just want to laze around and eat some grass. At least this seems to be the general idea. However, sometimes general ideas are just that, general ideas. Ricky was a man who loved his cattle. He loved spending time with them, and he spent more time with them as a calf was about to be born. He had a barn for his domesticated pets in Philadelphia, and he often spent his time there. Sadly, the farm was where he would spend his last breathing moments. The day before his 53rd birthday, one of his bulls, in a fit of rage, charged him and injured him perfectly indifferent. To put that question in context, consider this astonishing fact. Hippopotamuses are the most dangerous large land mammal on the planet. Yes, even more dangerous than lions, and tigers, and jaguars, and wolves, and any other land mammal you can think of. Now that you know this fact about hippos, would you consider having them as pets? No, right? Well, Marius didn't care about that. He owned a hippopotamus regardless, and he paid dearly for it. Marius kept his pet hippopotamus at his farm in Free State, a province of South Africa. Despite being warned several times about the dangers of keeping such a dangerous animal as a pet, he didn't budge. Instead, he referred to the animal as a son to him, and he shunned the advice of everyone else. Well, a few years ago, he was found floating in the river. His body had been thoroughly chewed up by the hippopotamus. It was a sad sight, of course, but no one was seriously shocked. It was always going to happen. Number 1. The Bengal tiger, black bear, and the African lion. Tigers, bears, and lions are scary on their own, but combining 3 of them? That's a great recipe for a nightmare. Strangely, a lady named Kelly Ann Walls decided that she'd keep 3 of them, and it ended just as you think it would. One day, while she was cleaning the cage of her black bear, she got mauled to death. Neighbors witnessed the attack and consequently called the authorities, but it was too little, too late. She was dead, and that was about that. That's it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Goodbye, and remember to stay safe.